Hello, my name is Lisa Castle. I am going to be your professor in this college algebra course this summer. I wanted to make a quick video to introduce myself and go over a few things that you might want to be familiar with on the first day of your course. The first thing you want to do is to go into Canvas and familiarize yourself with the course. Go through the navigation, look around, figure out where you want to be, define course content, etc. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the syllabus. Now we're going to read it pretty quickly. You're going to want to read it from top to bottom. We're going to show you where your schedule is. You can print your schedule out. You can print it out today, and then you'll know when everything is due during the summer, when are all your exams due? When is your final due? You're going to want to obtain your Pearson MyLab Math access, and you can do that immediately. You can do that first day. And you'll want to do that as quickly as possible because you have assignments that are going to be due pretty quick. Once you've read the syllabus and you've gotten your Pearson MyLab Math access, you're going to want to complete the syllabus acknowledgement quiz. When we go look at the syllabus in Canvas, you'll see that there is a place that you can acknowledge that you read the syllabus in Canvas. However, we require you to take a syllabus acknowledgement quiz in MyLab Math. That way we know for sure that you've read the syllabus. It is a prereq to all the other assignments you're going to do. So you're going to want to take that right away. And you're going to want to practice using HonorLock. This is an online course. Exams will be proctored, and they will be proctored using HonorLock. I'll explain that there is an opt-out of that here in a little bit. But if you're going to use HonorLock, you're going to want to go ahead and practice that as soon as possible. That way, if there are any technical difficulties whatsoever, we can figure those out early on so that you'll be good to go for all the other exams. All right, I'm going to go into Canvas. Here I am in Canvas. I'm going to go to the college algebra course. It's right there. The picture there is of a parabola. When I go into Canvas, it lands on the home page. And at the top of the home page will be any announcements that have come out. Today, while I'm recording this, there aren't any announcements because the summer hasn't quite begun yet. So I'm going to click on the announcements tab over here in the left navigation so I can see that week 1 announcement. When you come into Canvas, you can click on the announcements tab also to look at the announcements, or you can just click on it here in the recent announcements area. So I'm going to click on that. And here is the week 1 announcement. It's going to go out May the 27th. I'm recording this prior to the beginning of the summer. It's going to go out May the 27th. Typically, announcements will go out Sunday at midnight, and that will tell you what's going on for the next week. So let's just take a quick look at it. So there's going to be a link to this video that I'm recording, and then it's going to have all the things that you need to get done in the week. So you have homework 1.1 through 1.4. You've got some quizzes due. I do remind you that you need to do the HonorLock practice quiz. And of course, you need to do the syllabus acknowledgement quiz immediately. Otherwise, you can't do the 1.1 homework. Here are some instructions for getting your Pearson MyLab Math access. It's pretty straightforward. There is a video that explains how to do this step by step, or here are some step-by-step instructions. You simply click on the Access Pearson. You create an account if you don't have one. If you do have an account, you're just going to log into that account. Please, if you create an account, please use your Redlands email address. Once you've created your account, you can come back over to the left navigation, click on Course Materials, and you can reveal an access code that you can use to get your My Lab Math access. If you choose to opt out of getting the course materials that way, you will have to pay for your access using a debit or a credit card. Pearson My Lab Math is required for this course. You have to either purchase it or get it through course materials in Canvas. That way you'll be charged through Redlands if you do it that way. But you do have to have access. That's how we do all our homework, quizzes, and exams. Just a reminder about your syllabus and the syllabus acknowledgement quiz link. Here's a link to your course schedule, and then some information about honor log. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to go ahead and do a view as student. All right, so on the home page are links to navigate through the course. You can always navigate through the modules button in the left navigation if you prefer. There's multiple ways to get to where you need to go in this course. I'm going to click on the syllabus. I could also click on simple syllabus in the left navigation. Both of those links will get you to the syllabus. If I click on the simple syllabus link in the left navigation, it will prompt you to acknowledge at the end. Again, you can do that, but that does not alleviate the requirement for you to take the syllabus acknowledgement quiz. All right, so let's just go through that. You can read the course description and the course rationale, the prerequisites, what course comes after this. This is a STEM course, so we assume that you're going into a STEM field. So trig and calculus would be the next courses required after this one. Here is some information about your book. You are not required to purchase a textbook. You are required to purchase or get Pearson My Lab Math access, either by revealing the code here in Canvas or by purchasing it with a debit or credit card. Again, if I just click on course materials, that will reveal an access code for me that I can copy and paste into Pearson to get my access. So you can read through the instructions. Again, it reminds you to use your Redlands email address if you're creating an account with My Lab Math. We don't want you to use Gmail, Yahoo, any other email address. Use your Redlands email address. You are required to purchase a graphing calculator or borrow. I recommend a TI-84. It seems to be the calculator most students have. It works very, very well. And all of Chapter 6 is done on the calculator. Chapter 6 is using matrices to solve systems of equations. And your TI-84 calculator can do that quite nicely. So we do require a calculator. You could read through the general educational outcomes, our mission statement, and our general education philosophy. Under course objectives are the objectives for each chapter. The course outline, I have your outline under the schedule area. in this Canvas course, so you can click on schedule and you can see the outline, what's being covered every week. Evaluation, you're probably interested in that. How are you going to be evaluated in this course? We have homework, quizzes, exams, and a final. Homework is worth 10% of your grade. It's done, all of your homework is done in MyLab Math. You get instant feedback in homework. When you click the submit button on a homework assignment, a homework question, it'll tell you whether you got it correct or incorrect. You can redo that question if you want to make sure you get 100% credit. Quizzes are worth 20% of your grade. Quizzes are similar to exams, where you launch the quiz, you take the quiz, and you submit it at the end, and then you get feedback on what questions you got correct or incorrect. Exams, there are 5 chapter exams. Over the first 4 chapters, there is an exam each chapter, and then we combine chapters 5 and 6 on systems of equations and solving those equations using matrices into one exam. So there will be an exam over chapters 5 and 6. So 5 exams worth 10% a piece, 50% total. And then here's some information regarding HonorLock. There is an entire page in the Canvas course explaining HonorLock. We'll look at that in a minute. It's pretty straightforward. You launch it, you go through the authentication process. Once you're through the authentication process, HonorLock will enter the password for you. You do not have a password to any exam. HonorLock has those passwords. Your requirement for HonorLock is that you do need a photo ID, whether it's a driver's license or a school ID. Both of those work just fine. But you do have to authenticate that the person whose ID is shown is the person who's taking the exam. You may opt out of HonorLock. If you choose to do that, you need to let me know in the first week of the summer session. If you opt out, you will be required to come to campus and take the test in the testing center here on campus. You will need to be sure you understand there are summer hours for the testing center. The testing center is not open on Fridays during the summer. So you need to be sure to check the hours before you drive over here. The final exam is worth 20% of your grade. It is comprehensive. It covers the entire course. Grading, you can see the grading percentages there. We do drop the lowest 2 homework and quiz grades, and then a standard A through F grading scheme. If you want to see your current grade that's the most accurate, that will be in Pearson, in the student grade book. Pearson, MyLab Math, and Canvas have to sync grades, and sometimes that can take a few minutes. So sometimes you might complete an assignment and then you go back to Canvas and your grade is not correct. That's because it hasn't synced yet. So give it a half an hour or so, and if it still doesn't reflect the correct grade, send me an email and I will go and manually sync the grades. There's really not an attendance policy for this course because we are online. You can read over the campus closure. Makeup policies. You really only need a makeup policy regarding exams. All homework and quizzes can be done late with a 10% penalty. So if you have an assignment due on Monday and you complete it on Tuesday, that's fine, but you will get deducted 10% for that late assignment. Makeup policies for exams is done only in extreme circumstances. And I prefer that you let me know ahead of time that you're going to miss the due date. You can take an exam early if you know that you're going to be on vacation or something the day an exam is due. You can certainly take that exam early. That's not a problem at all. If for some reason you cannot make the due date of an exam, please notify me as soon as possible. The day after the exam is due, I'm going to give you a 0 for that exam. So be sure you let me know ahead of time or as soon as possible that you've missed the deadline. I prefer email as a communication method. The Canvas messages work very well also. If you're going to send me an email, just please let me know what course you're in. I get a lot of emails and I don't always know, especially early on in the summer, who's in what course. So just let me know what course you're in. I will do my best to respond to you within a few hours. Please give me at least 24 business hours to respond. Typically, it's much quicker than that, but give me at least 24 hours. You should check your email and Canvas every day. It's an 8-week summer course. I can't imagine not being in Canvas every day. So check Canvas and your email every day. It talks about office hours this summer session. I am not going to be on campus, so I don't have formal office hours. However, as it says at the top of the syllabus, I will be happy to meet with you via Zoom if we need to meet. That's not a problem whatsoever. So if you want to meet with me, send me an email or a Canvas message requesting that and give me a time that you want to meet. I'll send you a Zoom link and we can meet. All right. There is the help link to Pearson MyLab Math. I can't solve technical problems with Pearson. I just don't have any capability in that area. So if you have any issues with Pearson, your best bet is to click on the link, open a ticket with them. All right, so at the bottom, it does have an acknowledge that I've read it. Again, you need to take the syllabus acknowledgement quiz in my lab math to acknowledge that you've read the quiz. All right, let me go back to the home page. Everything starts at the home page. And let's look at your schedule. Here's a link to your schedule. I have some other links here on the schedule page just to help you navigate if you need to. So here is your summer schedule. In week 1, this is what's going to be required. The honor lock practice is not actually due the first week, but I do want to remind you that you need to get it done. The syllabus acknowledgement quiz is due the first week. You need to do it before you do the 1.1 homework. The My Lab Math Orientation doesn't have a prerequisite, so you can do it first, then do the syllabus quiz, and then you're ready to go to do the homework and the quizzes. Scrolling through here, the first exam will be due Wednesday, June the 11th at midnight. All assignments are due at 11:59 p.m. Homework typically is due on a Monday. Exams are typically due on Wednesdays. Let me close that. I'm going to go back to the home page. Your textbook, you aren't required to purchase a textbook. An e-text is included with your My Lab Math access. I include textbook links all through the course. As soon as you have your My Lab Math access, then those links will work and you can read your textbook. I'm going to go back home. If you want to read something about me, I included some information about me. Office hours are by appointment. Since we're in a summer session, I'll be happy to Zoom with you if you need to talk to me. Maybe the most interesting thing about me in this little biography is that I'm a first-generation high school graduate. Neither one of my parents finished the 8th grade. I'm also a first-generation member of my family to get a master's degree, bachelor's degree and a master's degree. But now, in just a generation, both of my children have masters, and my son is working on his PhD currently. So my son will soon be Dr. Castle. I'm going to go back home. Here are the instructions for honor lock. You can read through those, and I have a big red letters. You don't have a password. You don't. There is a demo that I recorded a while back that you can watch me walk through the authentication process and how to get the password into your exam. It really is fairly straightforward, but especially if you're using a MacBook, there can be some issues with getting the password in and stuff. So we need to get those issues resolved sooner rather than later. You don't want to wait until the night of the exam and try to launch Honor Lock. You want to do this early, get all the kinks worked out, and then you'll be ready to go when the first exam is due. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and click the Honor Lock link in the left navigation. That is how I start the process of proctoring an exam through Honor Lock. And when I go into Honor Lock, it's going to have the list of all the exams I have. The first one listed is the practice. You'll want to launch that. It takes you through the authentication process. It's 4 questions. All the answers are true. But you want to practice that. If you have any technical issues, you can practice it again. So you can do that as many times as you need to do. It may be kind of hard to see down here at the bottom. There it is. Let me scroll up. There is a purple chat icon in the lower right of this screen. If I click on that, that will start a help chat with Honor Lock. So if you have any issues at all, and they will tell you, this is your instructor's fault. You need to talk to your instructor. They'll even tell you that. But if you have any issues at all, click the chat icon, start a chat with them, and they can give you some help. Okay, I'm going to go back home. I have the links to the modules for homework, quizzes, and exams. You are well aware that there are homework assignments in your to-do over here on the right. But if you want to get to the entire section of homework, you can click on that, and that will take you to the module that includes all the homework. I'm going to go back home. And then last but not least, at the bottom of the page is your chapter content. So this is the content for the course. So if I want to watch the videos or look at the PowerPoint or read the notes for chapter 1, I can click on that. There's an instruction, introduction to chapter 1, and then links to all the sections. If I click the next button at the bottom, it will take me to the first section in chapter 1. It's linear. So the first section, then the second section, etc. It gives you some introduction, the objectives for the section, some chapter notes that I've created, the PowerPoint I use in a face-to-face class, a link to the textbook. If I leave the student view real quick, since I don't have a student account with Pearson, I can't launch it as a student, but I can click on the textbook and it will open in section 1.1, and it can take a second to open. So there's 1.1, I can read through the textbook. There's a link to your first homework assignment in section 1.1, so you can open that and do the homework. And then there's a link to all the videos for the topics in section 1.1. So the first objective is to plot points. The first video shows you how to plot points. All right, I think that's all I wanted to look at. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Send me an email or a Canvas message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm looking forward to a great summer. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.